Still on the Bishop Charles allegations, more pieces of the puzzle are starting to fall into place. Now, the woman seen standing beside Bishop Charles in this photo, which was posted by his alleged mistress, and shows her in the same frame, she just came out with something I did not see coming. And just before that, Bishop Charles himself broke his silence. So in this video, we're pulling it all together, his side, her side, and the parts that still aren't adding up. Go ahead and like the video, and if you're watching without subscribing, that's wild. Fix that. Let's get into it. We all know the story by now, but for those hearing it for the first time, here's a quick catch-up. A few days ago, a video started trending on TikTok. It was posted by the woman now believed to be Bishop Charles's alleged mistress, and the caption, it grabbed everybody's attention. It read, "My ex-boyfriend entering his birthday dinner with his wife and children." Bold, director, and instantly, the internet went crazy. The caption alone was enough to stir drama, but she didn't stop there. She backed it all up with receipts, videos, pictures, and even went live multiple times to answer questions from viewers. She showed moments they allegedly shared together, all pointing to a secret relationship with a married bishop. And as the video gained traction, as people began putting two and two together, Bishop Charles didn't stay silent for long. As the videos picked up speed and questions started flying, he released an official statement, carefully worded and clearly legal-backed. Here's what it said, word for word. "I was recently made aware of social media posts by a former member of my congregation with whom I had an inappropriate relationship over 15 years ago. At that time, these indiscretions were addressed with my bishop in a redemptive process which included counseling. These posts include accusations, some of which are deeply troubling and untrue. Given the nature of several false claims being made, I have asked my legal counsel, Attorney Gerald Evelyn, to carefully review all matters, in particular an apparent joint bank account with my name on it. I have retained communications counsel Mario Morrow of Morrow and Associates, LLC, to assist in addressing the situation appropriately. I ask for continued prayer for myself, my family, as well as this individual and her family. My deepest hope is that all parties involved can find peace and healing." So let's lay it out clearly. Yes, Bishop Charles has admitted there was an inappropriate relationship. He didn't deny it. He said it happened over 15 years ago and described it as a redemptive process that included counseling with his bishop. That alone confirms the core of the accusation. There was an affair, not rumors, not gossip, an inappropriate relationship, confirmed. He claims it was handled quietly, behind the scenes and in the past, but that only leads us to more questions. Because in the same statement, he brings up a joint bank account. Yes, a bank account that allegedly still has his name tied to it. Now let's be honest, you don't open a joint account with just anybody. And if things were over a decade ago, why would there still be financial ties today? So while he's calling some of the accusations untrue, the reality is, the foundation of the story is already confirmed by his own words. There was an affair, there was counseling, there was a history. Now let's shift the focus to someone else in the mix, the woman in the photo. Her name is Mars Osborne, and she wasn't just some bystander. Mel identified her in the caption, called her a friend, but now that same friend is speaking out. And what she's saying doesn't line up with Mel's story at all. Mars has been posting videos on TikTok, clearly upset, not just about the scandal itself, but because her face was included in a narrative she wants no part of. And in those posts, she makes one thing crystal clear. Bishop Charles didn't seduce Mel. She claims it was the other way around, that Mel pursued him, threw herself at him, even tried to position herself to become the first lady. So now we're left with two conflicting stories, one from the alleged mistress and one from her own friend. Let's take a closer look at what Mars Osborne actually said.
Hello, TikTok. This is the lady that's in the picture with Melanie about the Bishop Ellis story. I'm reaching out to say that I have no gain. I don't want any gain from this. You are a liar. When I met you, you were loose. You were always in some man's face, as I stated. And I didn't appreciate the fact that you posted me and my children in your affair or affairs with this situation. We had nothing to do with it. When this first transpired, I don't know what happened on the other end, the back end of the story, but this is the beginning of the story, how she used to run up in his face, how he always tried to her, because she ran the story that, whoa, it's me, I don't have anybody else, I don't have a family and all that. I know, and the people that I know know that you pursued this man and hunted this man down. Clout, Melanie. Oh my God. This is clout that you're doing. You want clout off of Bishop Ellis' name. That's why you're doing this. That's why you're coming out saying all these negative things and putting all this out about what he did and all that stuff. That's why you're doing it, because you're chasing clout, because you feel like he's not giving up anything to you anymore. So you got to get some more money out of it. I never seen this man, and I was there, I know I can see that I never seen this man approach her. Like I said, Melanie has always been on shady things and shady stuff. And if the people really come forth that know Melanie that had a, I call her Mel, no Mel that had an encounter with her, they will also tell you how Mel was. Mel was loose. She was very flirty. She was always, like I said, she was always in some man face, especially if she felt that she can gain something from it or get something out of it. She was really in their face. She was writing bad checks. She always wanted to be something more than what she was. Like I said, it was always an issue of her being in a man's face. And like I said, she pursued him. She always talked about being the first lady. And I used to be like, Melanie, that's not right. You're wrong. You're not supposed to do that. Because she knew. She knew what she was doing. Like I said, I'm not doing this for clout. I'm doing this for people. Because there's people out there that came from real, true trauma stories and situations where they were abused and taken advantage of. And that wasn't you. I don't know what you experienced in your childhood or anything of that nature. I can't speak on that. But I can only speak on the situation with you and Bishop Ellis. And he never approached you. I have nothing to gain. Never talked to that man after I left the church. Because like I said, at one point, the women was looking at you like they was gonna drag you. So I was like, no, this is not panning out. I kept telling you, Melanie, stop doing that. We used to have talks and you used to be like, oh, I'm going to be with him. We going to be together and all that stuff like that. You were living it. You used to talk this fantasy stuff. That's what I used to call it. And like I said, I'm not the only one that can contest to it. I can show up in Detroit and we can get this thing popping. We can get in front of Lane, Jackie, and the people that knew you and share some experiences with you, and we can get before them and we can get this thing going and really tell the truth, something that you don't know how to do.
So now that you've heard what Marcy had to say, let's unpack this, because there's a lot underneath her words. She's not just commenting from the sidelines. She's not guessing. She says she was right there, front row, watching it all unfold. And from the way she tells it, this wasn't some tragic story about a young woman seduced by her pastor, Number. She says Mel was the one doing the chasing, throwing herself at Bishop Ellis, trying to secure a title, trying to be the first lady. She even says Mel used to brag about it, like it was some kind of game she was playing and winning. And Mars doesn't stop there. She starts pulling out receipts on Mel's past, allegations of bad checks, chasing after rich men, dope boys, a life full of chaos and manipulation. Then she clears something else up. Whatever people thought she and Mel had? Nah. She says it was never romantic. Not back then, not now, not ever. But here's where it really shifts. That viral photo, the one Mel posted with her and Mars's late daughter. That's what lit the match, because Mars didn't give permission, didn't want to be dragged into the mess, didn't want her child's memory tied to a scandal she wants nothing to do with. So now we're staring at two very different pictures. Mel says she was groomed for years by a trusted pastor. Marcy says she was never a victim, she was the architect. And if you've been following this from the start, you're probably asking the same thing we are. Who's lying? Because both of them can't be telling the truth. Let's break it all the way down. So let's lay the facts out, side by side. Mel's version, she says it all started when she was 22, fresh out of college, vulnerable, and Bishop Ellis was 47, a trusted leader, a father figure, someone she thought would protect her, not pursue her. She says he groomed her, dangled God in front of her face while crossing every line behind the scenes, that for years she was caught in an emotional, sexual, and spiritual whirlwind, manipulated, used, silenced. But Mars's version, it's a whole different narrative. She says Mel knew exactly what she was doing, that she targeted Bishop Ellis, and wasn't shy about it either. She paints a picture of someone who wanted power, a platform, status. She says Mel would talk about becoming First Lady like it was a plan in motion. So now we've got two women, One says she was prey, the other says she was the predator. But here's where it gets even more complicated. Both of them are telling us they were close, they spent years around each other, they knew the details, the conversations, the energy, and yet, somehow, one is saying I was trapped, while the other says she was in control. So which is it? Were there moments of abuse, hidden behind the pulpit? Or were there plays being made and behind closed doors for power and position? And let's be honest, this isn't just about two women. This is about what really goes on behind some of these church walls, where titles cover up trauma, where friendships fall apart because the truth gets too heavy, and where image matters more than integrity. Because now, we're not just watching a scandal, we're watching a battle for credibility, a fight over truth. So let me ask you, if you had to choose, whose story makes sense to you? Whose tone felt real? Whose words hit your spirit? Mel or Mars? Because if this is only the beginning, then you better believe what's coming next will shake the church even harder.